So much for Everyone say this dua really quickly. اللهم اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي.
I mean, we're
آمين.
live. Go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Welcome. Thank you guys for joining our first ICC virtual Qiyam. We are really thrilled and excited to have you guys. Alhamdulillah, today I have an amazing group of people that are going to be having a really interesting conversation. But first, inshallah, we want to start the dua, the session with a dua. And Asil Atallah from Zaytuna College will be giving us a beautiful dua, inshallah.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. Ya Allah, please reward everyone who has put in time and effort into making this gathering possible. Ya Allah, allow this gathering to have blessings and allow people to benefit from it. Ya Allah, please allow us to grow closer to you and your religion in this blessed month. Ya Allah, allow our hearts to be connected even though we can't be together in person. Ya Allah, grant every individual growth and success and ease in this Ramadan, and allow us to gather again together soon. Wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam.
Thank you so much, Asil. Thank you so much for that. It was beautiful. Alhamdulillah, mashallah. Okay, so we're going to start with a really quick introduction about who our wonderful speakers are for tonight. So ladies first, as always, we're going to start with Asil. Asil, please give a brief intro of who you are, what you're doing right now in your life, and give us your favorite name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's 99 names. Go.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. My name is Asil Atallah, and I'm currently a junior at Zaytuna College. So I'm entering my last year, and inshallah after that, I'm really interested in pursuing something in mental health and psychology, inshallah going down that path. My favorite name of Allah, the one that I think I've just been connecting to a lot in this past year is Al-Latif. You know, the how do you translate Lutf? Gentle and soft and kind. And I think that, especially in like this difficult time that we're in, to feel Allah's lutf in every situation is something that's so special. So yeah, thank you, Leila, for putting this together.
No, of course. Thank you for joining. Okay, now we have Tabarak. Go ahead.
Hey Leila, assalamu alaikum everyone. My name is Tabarak. I'm studying health policy at Arizona State University, graduating in about a week. So I feel everyone struggle. Quarantine graduations, woohoo. The name that came to my mind right away was Ar-Rahman, the most merciful. I think just when anything's low, just when life pushes you, I just remember Allah's mercy and that in this time there's ease.
SubhanAllah. Thank you so much for sharing that. And SubhanAllah, we're almost coming to an end to the last 10 days, the last first days of Ramadan, which are like awwalahu rahma, the beginning of it is rahma and like mercy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's beautiful. Thank you, Tabarak. All right, Salwa.
Okay, assalamu alaikum everyone. I'm Salwa. I think I'm the youngest one here. I'm a freshman at ASU and I'm doing a double major in psychology and neuroscience, and like I want to get into the mental health field such as like Asil. And I think my favorite name is probably Al-Alim. I don't know why. It's my favorite. Yeah.
It's beautiful. MashaAllah. All right, now boys get the spotlight. We will start with Ridwan. Go ahead.
Hey, assalamu alaikum everybody. I was in Arizona 2.5 years ago and I moved out to San Antonio, Texas. And I've adapted and grown close to the Muslim community here. So I know today's topic is about friendship. So I have my own little stories and trial and error about that whole shenanigan. My favorite name of Allah, I literally have to Google it right now because I forgot what the Arabic translation was Al-Bari, which is somebody who is like the changer or the evolver. I'm sure there's a lot of very specific connotations of the word, but I just find it really interesting and I feel like it applies to my life at the moment. So
MashaAllah, SubhanAllah, that's beautiful. Ayman, tfaddal, go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. My name is Ayman. I also was I graduated from ASU with and now I work in self-driving technology. And my favorite word as of right now is al-mu'min and al-muhaymin. Muhaymin more just because in my life right now, like having and I think it relates a little bit to all of us. Al-muhaymin translates to the overseer and the one who watches over us, basically. And I think during this time, especially, we can all have this understanding that regardless, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who's steering the ship, and we might not know where it's going to go, but there's an ease that comes with it, knowing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to take care of us all.
That's beautiful, subhanAllah. That's kind of similar to mine. My favorite name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, well, today's favorite that I really liked is As-Samad. And I thought it was really interesting because I always think about different names, but I've never thought about As-Samad because, and the beauty of that word is that it's just showing you the independency of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Like when I was learning about it, it was like, think about the richest person ever or the most successful person ever. They only got to that point through people, through the help of people, through the use of people, everything. They depended on other people at some point in time, except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like he never needed anybody, and he is the one that's independent, and we all depend on him and rely on him. So I thought that was a really beautiful thing that I learned today. All right, and then Assalamu alaikum. My name is Leila Jamal. I'm an ASU graduate. I graduated in 2018, and I'm currently doing a gap year, inshallah, trying to pursue medical school, and I'm doing research. So that's a little bit about all of us. Inshallah, you have like a diverse group of people with different backgrounds and different passions. So also we have Ustaz Omar Tawil with us. He is behind the cameras, and we have Ahmed Khalil also, who we really do want to thank because they have been helpful in facilitating this hangout. So as you guys a little bit heard from Ridwan, we were saying that inshallah today's conversation that we wanted to have was about like friendships. So friendships are something that we all at one point in our lives have like had, I hope, and we've experienced. So I want to hear from you guys. Like, what does the value of friendship have on your life, and how has it impacted who you are today? And guys, the way we're gonna have this conversation, it can go boy, girl, vice versa, anything. Like, just feel free to hop on, and it's just literally a dialogue. It's a conversation that we're trying to have. It's a discussion. So inshallah, we all learn from one another. So anyone have anything to share about how friendships have formed who they are today, how they have impacted them? What value does friendship have on you today, or to you today?
And I think that's a good question. I started becoming more aware about like my surroundings more now, like throughout my college career. Like I've been more specific about who I want to be around, because like growing up, it's like you're following what your parents or who they want you to be around. But like now in college, it's like the world's your oyster type of thing, where I wanted to be around people that motivate, that inspire me, that could bring me closer to Allah, that I could joke around with. So just kind of for me, like friendship is that the way to balance my life, I guess, so that I'm not just working all the time, that I have some sort of way of exhausting my energy.
It's beautiful, thank you.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with Tabarak there. And just an extension of that, I mean, I feel like the friendships I've made completely almost define me to a certain extent. Of course, you're your own person, but the people you're with, you're gonna affect them, and they're gonna affect you, and whatever path they're on is the path you're also gonna be on. So I just find that having good circle of friends is the difference between like having a really great life, having a mediocre life, or not having such a great life at all, right?
Did you make that realization, like at what point did you make that realization, Ridwan, that like having a good group of friends is really something that impacted your life or had significant impact on your life?
Just growing up, you kind of always think about it in the background. Sometimes it's not so apparent in high school, it becomes a little more apparent in college when you see people kind of branching out or sticking to their same friend groups or kind of mixing and seeing the paths that different people go down. I went to ACA, Muslim high school, called like for my entire life, and I had a good group of people around me then, and just seeing how that helped me. And then in college, when I was kind of branching out and meeting a lot of new people, always choosing the right people to hang out with and the right people to have influences from, and that whole shebang.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you guys. Like, I feel like you're like the people you're friends with really like represent who you are. And I like realized that, especially at the end of high school, when like, because I went to like a public school, so most of the people weren't Muslim, and I was like the only hijabi in my whole entire grade. And most of my like white friends started like drinking and like doing all that stuff. And I realized like since I couldn't do that stuff, it was really like hard on me. And like I realized myself like distancing myself and feeling like really extremely lonely in high school because I didn't really have like a good like solid group of like Muslim friends, but also at school I didn't have like a solid group of like my white friends because I really couldn't hang out with them outside of school. And so I just like kind of felt lonely. And like now that I'm in college, I really have like a sense of like good friendships and stuff because I met like a lot of Muslim people, and like I realized like the beauty of having Muslim friends because like they understand you more, and like they remind you to like pray. Like after class, me and my friend always meet up at like the MU and we always pray together, and like it really makes me happy. Like I remember one Friday at school I saw like a group of hijabis like hanging out, and I was like Muslim gang and stuff. Like it just made me so happy because in high school I really didn't have that type of like, you know, Muslim community around me. So it's really important to like find the right group of friends and like, you know.
Yeah, and it's crazy how you said that, like, mashallah, like that's awesome that you started distancing yourself from your friends in high school. Because I remember back in high school, I was dying and trying to do everything I could possibly do to fit in and not distance myself from them, whether they were drinking, whether whatever they were doing. In my head, it's like, you guys are doing what you're doing. As long as I'm not doing it, I'm fine. You know what I mean? But honestly, like I'd be lying if I said it didn't affect me and it didn't make me think of like trying, for example, or like, why is it haram? Why is it like, you know, I feel like just being in that, subhanAllah, being, my parents used to always tell me like being in that environment, or like they would say it's not you we don't trust, it's the environment we don't trust. And I never understood what that meant until, alhamdulillah, like later on I was able to reflect back and understand truly how impactful environments are on you. And like I feel like oftentimes we overestimate our strength in terms of like we think we are able to withhold from things, and we think that we as an individual can be put in these kind of environments and not be swayed. Anyone else like relate to that, or thoughts and ideas on that?
Yeah, so I just want to quickly mention a Arabic phrase about friendship that like as I was growing up, like it always comes back to me as sahib sahib.
I love it, yes.
Yeah, and like you like obviously you hear it growing up, you're like whatever, and then you
But translate it. I tried translating and it's so ugly. It doesn't rhyme. I thought I was
like you get carried away basically by your friends, right?
Yeah, the friend, the dragger friend, the friend dragger. Sorry. Okay.
Yeah,
Like
so
basically your friend is the
whoever
one who
your
pulls.
friends are, you are basically. That's I think the English phrase.
Sahib sahib.
Yeah, and like you don't understand that until you're put in that situation where your friends are doing something and then you catch yourself, you're like, oh wait, I don't usually do stuff like this, why am I doing this? And you're like, oh, it's because my friend group is doing something like this and I should not be doing this. And it's just such an interesting thing to like realize in the moment. And it's honestly like, subhanAllah, it's really crazy how if you do not put a lot of effort into figuring out who your friends are early on, you will get swept away and you might not even realize it. So you might spend 10 years hanging out with these people, and then you realize that, hey, these people are not looking out for my best interest, they don't care for me, and all that stuff. So it's really important to just put in effort to figure out that these are my actual friends, and then you can have like acquaintances who are not like, you know, don't have as much weight as a friend does.
Anyone else want
Okay, I was gonna say really quick, like the reason I feel like we get like so, like as he said, like I don't know exactly what he said, but something about like how like we catch ourselves like doing the same thing our friends are doing and stuff like that is because like our friends like normalize everything. Like if you see your friends drinking so much, you're gonna be like, okay, it's normal, it's not that bad. And so like our friends kind of like set the boundaries of what's okay and what's not. And when we see everyone else like doing something, it's kind of like they kind of like normalize it so much to the point where we don't see why it's so bad. We kind of just like start questioning like, why is this bad if everyone else is doing it? Like all my friends are doing it, and obviously like you think your friends are good people, and so you're like, okay, if good people are doing it, then why can't I? Kind of, I don't know if that makes sense.
SubhanAllah, that's crazy because okay, so there's a hadith I think that says like says Umar, please back me up, but basically that there's a hadith that like if you're gonna do fahisha, like do it secretly. And so like, and to me at first it was like it doesn't make sense to me, you know, like I was like, why do it secretly? Why not just do it publicly? Like, why are you afraid of the people? But the logic behind that hadith was, so if you're gonna do something, when you're doing it publicly, there's a sense of you normalizing it. And I never thought about that. And so now that you think that you said like that your friends, whenever they do things, and there's like this sense of creating like this normal culture around whatever it is that they're doing is really, it's crazy. It's true. It's
And just to build off of that point, how often are you in the situation where you're with a really religious friend and you do things that are kind of a little sketchy and you just feel bad, or you're like, you know what, like maybe I shouldn't be doing that. Like that's
or the opposite. Or the opposite. You start being extra halal or extra good.
Exactly. And that's not to say that you should necessarily feel like that around your friends, like you should feel judged. But at the same time, if they're holding themselves to a higher standard, you start to automatically be like, you know what, maybe I should do the same thing. Like maybe I shouldn't be doing these other things. So your friends definitely make you.
Yeah.
I think it's, sorry, go ahead.
No, I'll say
before.
I was just gonna say it's really interesting because so I go to college out of state, and so what ended up happening, I noticed, especially like my freshman and sophomore year, is I'd go and I'd be surrounded by like these wonderful people, and I'd become like a very different person, and I'd grow in certain ways, and then I'd come back here and like, not to say that like, oh, my friends are any worse or better in either place, like mashallah, like beautiful people everywhere. Calm down, Nina. But what I mean is that like they're different people, and they like every person has different ways of practicing the deen, right? And so then I noticed, I was like, I'm not being authentic to myself at all. Like I'm sitting here, and when I'm at Zaytuna, I'm, you know, doing this, and I'm adding this, and I'm doing this, and I come back to Phoenix, and like I drop those things and I start doing different things. And I noticed that my standards were fluctuating. And so I think another really important thing about your friendships is that you also have friendship with yourself. You know, like you have, you know yourself, and you know your own standards, so that you're not necessarily not open to being and learning from other people, but that you know your own values, you know your own personal like areas of like, oh, I want to grow here and I want to progress here. And so knowing yourself, and so that you and the people around you are not just like, oh, influencing each other and swaying with the wind, that you're grounded in something. And I've noticed, at least, you know, like with my relationship with Layla, for example, like, alhamdulillah, we've been best friends now for what, like, I want to say like 15 years. Like it's been, and throughout that time, the one thing that has like kept our relationship stable is like being grounded in our love for this deen and our love for God. And having that as a foundation, it won't change you as a person. I find that you can be like authentically you when you're with them.
That's beautiful. Asil, how would you suggest or recommend the first step to like developing or establishing that kind of friendship with yourself, and like especially to people, let's say college age and late high school? Like how would you, when we live in a society that if you like you're dying to fit in and be swayed, you know what we were like, how you were saying.
I believe there is a saying, and please, if anyone knows differently, please correct me. It goes, "Man arifa rabbahu arifa nafsahu." So whoever knows his Lord knows himself. And so I think the first step on these things is always like building a solid relationship with God and knowing what God wants of you, right? Because at the end of the day, like, we have a certain recognition that like every action we do is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the long run. And so knowing what he wants of us allows us to know, like, okay, how am I going to proceed on my day-to-day actions? How am I'm changing my environment now. I'm going to ASU, or I'm starting a new job, or whatever it is, that I have a solid relationship with God, and that allows me to know like what he expects of me. And so now I know how to act, and now I know how to interact with the people around me. And so, yeah, that comes in like steps of like asking God, like just making a very sincere dua, like, Allah, show me what you want of me and show me how you want me to be with other people. And yeah, and like really establishing that like that daily consistent relationship with him.
It's crazy that you mentioned that saying, because when you mentioned that, in my head rang the verses in the Quran. I'm probably misquoting, but when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says like وَالَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا نَسَوْا أَنفُسَهُم, like a big characteristic that I was reading, like every alhamdulillah, like when I'm reading Quran during Ramadan, like a big characteristic, a big hallmark or banner for those people that lost their deen or lost dunya, they're like lost the whole point of this dunya, is that they lost themselves within this process. And I feel like that ties back to like us trying to fit in. We just lose ourselves because we're just trying to follow and follow and follow and not like genuinely figure out who we are. MashaAllah, that's beautiful. Thank you. Anyone else have any comments or some suggestions to give?
Yeah, a really short one. There's a story of the man who had killed 99 people, and then he had killed the 100th, and then he went to the next sheikh and he's asked like, hey, will I ever be forgiven? And the sheikh, out of his wisdom, was like, yes, but you need to get out of here. Something that somebody had once pointed out about that is that he was asked to change his entire environment and start anew, right? So if you're in an environment that is allowing you to be a certain way, then you need to leave it completely, right? Even with addictions and things, what's the first thing that they have a lot of addicts do is completely change their environment, right? So stop hanging out with the people who do those things. Stop being in the same houses, the same locations where those things can happen. Completely change your environment, aka your friends, your social surroundings, and you can be a different person. Even when I moved from Arizona to here in Texas, I found myself allowing myself to be completely different because I was just in a new environment. You're like, what? I'm in a new place. Nobody knows how it actually was. Like, I can be a better person. It's easier to be a better person. It's weird how changing like where you are and the places you're in changes you as a person.
Yeah, and as you said, like for healthy habits, for example, if you're trying to cut out sugar, if you're trying to cut out, take all those M&Ms out of your pantry. Don't have a bag of Oreos or whatever they're called, like a pack of Oreos just chilling there. You not expect yourself to eat it. You're so right. So okay, how do you guys? I want to hear from everyone. Like, how would you do this in a polite way? Because also I feel like a lot of times we fear hurting other people when we're leaving those environments. Anyone feel that, or am I overthinking it?
I agree with you, and I think it's important, obviously, to be sensitive to people's feelings. But at the same time, if these are your true friends, you need to be able to talk to them in a way and be very honest with them. Because if you're not going to be honest with these people who you consider your friends, you're not going to be honest with really anyone. So I think, yes, be sensitive in the way you speak with them, but I think it's important to talk to them and have a conversation and be like, listen, I would like to improve and I like you as a friend, but I need want you to grow with me, but that's the choice obviously you have to make. And obviously not exactly like that, but something along those lines, because it's if you consider them a friend and you want them with you on this journey, it's important to have a conversation, but be polite. And I mean, Allahu Alam, I've seen it go both ways. I've seen it where the person's like, hey man, like this is me and I'm going to continue to do this, and you end up losing a friend, or subhanAllah, you end up growing together with this friend. So it just depends on the circumstance.
Yeah, going off of that, I feel like if a friend doesn't like agree with like your values and like why you want to like distance yourself from them, or like if you talk to them and you're like, okay, like what you're doing is wrong, and like I just don't want to surround myself around that. And if they start getting mad at you and stuff, then they're not a true friend. Like, you don't need them. You want like to have friends that support you through everything and through every decision you make, you know what I mean? And so if they get mad at you, that just like shows what kind of person they are, and like that's someone that you don't want in your life. So I feel like they should be able to understand.
Yeah, that's a good point, Sidwa. And I think like, I guess the question is like, how do you know if an environment is good or bad for you? Because sometimes you could be in an environment for so long and not be aware like this environment actually is harming me. Like for me, like the way that I test my environments and whether it's a healthy environment for me, like my litmus test is to see if I could do my ibadas. Like, is it easy for me to be like, oh, I need to go pray, regardless of like if it's a Muslim or non-Muslim environment? How comfortable do I feel like vocalizing that? Not that you should ever kind of let anything get in the way of you doing your ibadas, but that's just like me between myself. Like, am I feeling anxious, saying like, oh, I need to take a minute to take a break, whether it's my job or my class or whatever it may be. And then sometimes like in some environments, you just know, like it's not a big deal. Like Adi, like we're all actually gonna go pray together, or we're all gonna like, some environments encourage that type of behavior. And that to me is like the biggest sign to see like if this environment is healthy. Because at the end of the day, like we have a responsibility for ourselves, and we shouldn't let like our friends or a group of people get in the way of that. And responding to like Layla's like point earlier with like, how do you let people know? Sometimes like silence, you don't need to say anything, you could just be silent. Like you don't have to, and just slowly get out of someone's life or whatever it may be. And I think that way you don't have to get into that like fear of like conflict or whatever it may be. And getting away in that manner also doesn't mean that you don't wish the best for the person. So it's also kind of being clear about what you want in that situation.
Oh, yeah, that's beautifully said. Thank you for that. Okay, so also for those who are watching us, please feel free to shoot us some questions, engage with us in any way possible. We're here for you guys. We really want to have a conversation with you as well. These are like, think of them as your 2 a.m. deep conversations at ICC when we used to have Qiyam. Okay, so inshallah, I have one more question. Who, like, is anyone else struggling with making friends as an adult? Well, right now, like for those who are in schools, for example, I feel like it's a little easier, but for those who aren't in school, so for example, I think Ayman and Ridwan, like how do you guys make friends in workspaces? How do you go about doing that?
Oh man. Okay, so when I moved here, I didn't know a soul at all. I moved here literally because I got a job out here. I was like, all right, there's a job out here. I'll move out. So one of the first things that I did is, and this is something I learned from my dad, is one, I made dua for good company, like, Ya Allah, give me a good circle here. And secondly, go straight to the masjid during Jummah and just like talk to people or see what's up. You'll get a place to live, like a week's worth of food and whatever you need almost instantly, guaranteed. And I remember one day I went there for some program and I went a little early to like talk some people up and see who was around in the community. And so he's probably watching this right now. I go to him and I tap on the shoulder. It's like, hey, I haven't grabbed lunch yet. Do you know any good sushi places nearby? He's like, yeah, there's one across the street. He turns around and walks off. He does not take the hint at all, not even a little bit. He's actually my best friend now, which is the funniest thing. But just putting yourself out there and going to places where you know there's most likely going to be good people and feeling it out and putting yourself out there, you're going to eventually get a good circle. I mean, it's definitely more difficult as an adult because when you're in school and you're with the same people for like an entire semester, it just kind of happens like a little more fluidly, but it's definitely a doable thing, but not easy. What do you think, Eamon?
So obviously it's a little different. And for me, it's even more, it's a different situation because I'm also married. So the circles are different. But for me, I have a very difficult time making friends at work because I don't want to make friends at work. I am very content with, I guess, the outside outside of work friends that I don't really engage in that. But other than work, like when it comes to, like you said, with one like masajid and stuff, like I really enjoy meeting new people and talking to people, and it's just super entertaining for me, and I love that I do exactly what you said with one. Like I'll go up to someone if I see, like especially here because I live here. I've been living here all my life. So if I see someone who I don't necessarily recognize, like I'll eye them for a little bit and see if they're with anyone I know I can talk to. And if not, I'll sometimes go introduce myself and be like, hey, how's it going? My name's Eamon, this and that. And kind of like gauge it from there and see what the situation is like. And just because I enjoy doing that kind of stuff. And it was really, really easy also in college for most of you guys who are in college or going to be in college soon. It's honestly very easy. You see a person in class, you see random people, like wherever you're going, I'm sure it's a big school, you see so many people, there's so many things that everyone has in common. It's super easy to get a conversation going. And then from there, building it and seeing if you have an opportunity to become like friends, you know. Alhamdulillah, like all of my friends are all people I went to school with. A couple like people who I can really, like if I'm in trouble, I can give them a call and they will come to my aid, alhamdulillah. So it's honestly just putting the time for the connections, and after that, honestly, just keeping up your relationship. It's difficult, it's different now because I am married, but I mean, alhamdulillah, it's honestly a blast to do that, to have that experience, alhamdulillah.
So
Kind of,
no, go to that.
I was kind of curious, like some people may be struggling finding good friends in college. What suggestions do you have for those people? Like, how do you go and find your tribe?
I think it has a lot to do with trial and error. As I, like my freshman year in college, like I think literally anyone who would say hi to me, I would go and like we would hang out and like whatever. So I was really, really open. But as like I went through my my years, the circle started getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And like after I graduated, the people who I really hung out with was very, very limited. I aligned with them necessarily agree with everything, but I honestly think it's trial and error. There are people who, like, for example, freshman year of college were like, these were my friends no matter what, and now subhanAllah, like we've drifted apart. So it really is trial and error, and you don't necessarily have to have your friends be the same people all the time. People grow at different paces. I've had friends that like when I was younger, we were super good friends and we grew distant, and then now we've reconnected. So honestly, I think it is trial and error, and just understanding that you don't need to be friends with a person all the time 100%. It just depends on your growth and your aspect in life at the time. Yeah, I don't know if that really answered your question.
All right, guys. Thank you, Ayman, for that. We have a question on Facebook. Alhamdulillah, Jazakallah khairan for Brother Omar Ismail for posting the question on Facebook. The question is, I'm going to read it to you all. Is there a way to keep your non-Muslim friends from influencing you and providing positive influence through your actions, through your morals towards your friends? As we know, da'wah comes in many different forms, such as actual preaching or your own actions that you present with people in many other different forms. That's a beautiful question, Brother Omar. Thank you so much for sharing that and asking that question. It's a really important question. Who wants to take that on?
I can take it. That I've been talking a lot. I kind of want to hear some other voices, you know.
We can hear from multiple people, but go for it, Ridwan.
But honestly, and this is from experience, be a good person, but don't do anything special. There's nothing more annoying than like if they ask you about Islam and stuff, like tell them about it, but like it shouldn't be a forced thing. I mean, how many times do you know somebody who maybe like of a different religion who's not Muslim, and everything they do, they're like, and did you know that I was so and so, and did you know I believed in that? Just be yourself. Your actions will show through. If they're curious, answer their questions. Maybe even introduce them to Islam in a non like pushful way. But I don't think there's anything special that you necessarily need to do there. it can get really weird, and people will stop hanging out with you, because I've seen it if you try to be too preachy. So I think it's a careful line.
I feel like though part of the question is asking like, how do they not get influenced themselves as well? So like they want to be a part like of that environment with the intention of providing da'wah to those people through just being themselves, which is beautiful, mashallah. But the question is like, how do you not get influenced and not end up like, God forbid, like doing bad things or doing sinful actions?
I think I can kind of answer part of this question, but like I think it's important before you get into any friendship to know your values and know your boundaries. So like when you come to like a situation where you're about to get influenced, you like can stand back and go like, okay, what's the point of this friendship? Like, what are my values? What are my boundaries? So just it's really important to like emphasize like boundaries and like your values in a friendship. And like looking back at the bigger picture, you have to know like, why am I getting myself into this friendship? You know? And so I think just like knowing your boundaries and everything is the number one thing before you get into a friendship with like a non-Muslim.
I'll add something to this as well. I think, yeah, knowing your own boundaries, but also oftentimes making those things known to your non-Muslim friends. In high school, and especially like Selva, you touched upon this, like, right, like as you start getting in, especially into junior and senior year, you'll notice that people start, well, dating is already part of the culture, but they'll start like drinking more and going to parties, and, you know, we don't participate in things like that. And I remember like I had like a few serious conversations with some of my friends where I was very clear about these are my personal values. This is what I believe in. This is the way that I am. And like being very clear about that, I noticed from that point on, like whenever I'd like be a part of a conversation, those friends would stay away from those topics. They wouldn't necessarily invite me to the things that involve those things, but they would say like, oh, Asli, let's go get breakfast together, right? And so it's being really clear and upfront about your values, because if you want true friends, they're going to be people that respect those values. You don't want to surround yourself with people who know your values and say, I don't care, like we're going to negatively influence you, right? And so I think, yeah, like making those things known. And something that's come out of that is that like when people want, there's something really special and pure about abstaining from these things, right? And I noticed that people recognize that. And so they'll come to you when they want to have a good influence, like when they want to have a good conversation, they want like a pure conversation, they will come to you. I've had friends come and ask me about what Islam's like perception of heaven and hell was. And it was the most random conversation, but it had the most beautiful results. And I think that comes from like, okay, being really clear on who you are internally, making that known externally, but like Ridwan said, not being so like invasive in every conversation, like these are my beliefs.
I kind of want to piggyback a little bit off of what Asid said. And I think like the experience that you had, mashallah, is really awesome. I do also want to mention for the people who are like their friendships aren't necessarily that easy, where a person can necessarily, or their friends can be so accommodating like yours. To be honest, at least in my opinion, it's very difficult to have non-Muslim friends. Just I think as your like full-time friends, I guess, just to like for lack of better words. Do not align, and it's hard to live a life with people who you're going to be seeing and hanging out with and talking about everything with when your day-to-day values do not align. That being said, like Asid's experience, it's not like impossible, but I do think that it's important to have a good core group of Muslim friends, just for some kind of like balance, or like just to touch back on and feel that, I guess, religious the religiousness in friendship, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. Sorry, Ayman, are you done?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I agree with Ayman, because I feel like even just having sometimes deep conversations about something that you might be struggling with yourself, with faith, and like, for example, tawakkul, the concept of tawakkul, for example, just being able to have a conversation with someone that you're struggling with letting go of, controlling, and all that jazz is insanely important. And I feel like you will only be able to have a fruitful conversation from your Muslim friend, if that makes sense, because they have that background. It's kind of like, I don't know, I've thought about this. I don't know. I feel like there's this common ground between the two that you have. So it makes the conversation easier, and it makes it, I think, a little safer too, and more fruitful. And that's not being said that like you can't explain, for example, the concept of tawakkul to someone, but if you yourself are going through a trouble, like you're troubleshooting with this concept right now, you don't want to be sitting there and explaining it to other people. You want to be having someone that's going to have your back and know how to direct you into the right direction, I guess. So yeah, and then we also have another question. So if you have an introverted personality, how do you make friends? Like, it's very difficult to approach people, but you also have, like, the word insan, human being, is to be from, it comes from the root word of, shout out to Gitri, NSL, which is to be social. So you do want to have some sort of, or just someone, at least one person that you can fall back onto, you can call up, check in on. So as an introvert, anyone have any experiences they'd like to share about that?
So growing up, I was extremely introverted, as a lot of you probably know. You just have to be uncomfortable and be willing to go through that process. It's hard and it's scary, but start off small, go to comfortable places and try to make friends there, and then move from there. But it's just much harder as an introvert, for sure.
Sometimes also, to add on to that, maybe going into places where they cater that environment. So maybe join a cause or a purpose or volunteer, and you naturally realize, because you all are coming together for one cause, that you're building up friendships in the most natural way. So it's not necessarily like going up to somebody, but it just kind of happens organically.
I feel like also having like having like something you want to talk about prepared in your head before you approach people. So like thinking about something you want to talk about, or thinking about like something you think you might have mutually in common with that person you're approaching, might ease the nerves of making a new friend. Also, I think something to take into consideration, when you're approaching someone, you're not the only one that's nervous. I think the other party is also nervous. So I don't know if that helps also the process, but just don't feel like you're alone in this. Maybe there's different levels of nervousness, but they too might be feeling it.
I think something else, I'm not necessarily an introverted person. I think I'm pretty extroverted, but I'll feel sometimes shy going into like a new environment, like, like a new community that I haven't been a part of, or I'm at a gathering and I don't know anyone there, but I'm with a friend. And so sitting down and having an honest conversation with maybe the one person you do know, and being like, listen, I'm interested in getting to know people, but I'm generally more shy when I don't know people, or I'm more introverted, so I don't feel as comfortable. Do you mind like being with me tonight and like helping me out in these kinds of conversations? Because yeah, a lot of times you'll notice, like, even if it's not someone that you're very close to, like, yeah, that people are always willing to help and to be that, buffer for, coming out of your shell.
Beautiful, thank you guys. And then we also have another question about advice for putting the hijab on in middle school. So how to make it easier process for putting the hijab on. So this is probably for the girls. Bye guys. Please give us, anyone want to share anything, advice on that, or tips on how to start wearing a hijab in middle school. So I think the first tip, honestly, is get a solid group of friends. The topic of our discussion. I think friends play a huge role in being able and being confidently enough to take that step. MashaAllah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help you and make it easy for you and bless you and really radiate you with light when you do take this step and make it easy for you and send you a support group. The hijab is a beautiful journey, but you definitely do need a support group to help you through, whether it's your mom, whether it's your friends. But I think in middle school, you're probably going to value your friends' opinions and you're going to want their validation. So try to get a good group of friends that would encourage you to wearing the hijab. You know, I feel like I remember like alhamdulillah, me and Asil, like Asil really played a big role for me in wearing my hijab. And when I went, and subhanAllah, like when I went, I moved to a different country because I was here for the summer, and I went back to Syria. So it was a completely different group of friends. I love my people in Syria, but I did not get the support that I had over here, subhanAllah. So I know your struggle if you don't have a support group, but try your best. Reach out to us. Wallahi, we would love to be there for you. Tabarak, Asil, and Salwa are all amazing, beautiful individuals. And I think we would love to be that support for you. And just try your best, whether it's through Sunday school, just coming to community masjid events, try to find someone that can have your back for this and support, because that's what a friend is, honestly. At the end of the day, if they're not supporting you, I don't know what they're doing, truthfully.
I'll add something to this. I want to first acknowledge that it is a struggle. It is something that it takes dedication, and it does take sacrifice. I know for me, when I put it on, I had to make sacrifices, and especially now in like the changing political climate, like you are openly showing yourself as Muslim, which has some struggles, but has a lot of really beautiful things as well. But I think for me, what was really special about it was that in every sacrifice that you make for God, in every single sacrifice you make, He gives you abundantly in return. There has never been a time where I have struggled for something in Islam that I have not felt the mercy and the gentleness and the love of God pouring onto me right after that. You know, that's something I think as you consider this more, like really understanding, like this is something for God. This is, you know, like whatever reward you get from the dunya is great, but this ultimately is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and He is going to give you in this life, and He's going to give you in the hereafter, inshallah. And so really making that your intention and asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for your support in this struggle, because it is. But again, God is not going to leave you. You come walking towards God, He comes running to you. And so, yeah, grounding yourself in that, and having that like be like a connection to God, that like whenever I put my hijab on, like I'm like, oh, okay, God's got my back. Yeah.
Allahu Akbar. SubhanAllah, that was beautiful.
Real quick, I know that was, she was talking about hijab, but I just wanted to take a moment to say that what she's talking about applies, I think, to everything religiously. So it's not just about hijab. I think it's about like everyone can relate to that kind of that feeling. So I just wanted to quickly point that out. Go ahead.
Exactly. And I'm going to piggyback on that and say that, subhanAllah, exactly what you said, whatever you let go of for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He gives you multiple of and better of what you let go. And that applies to the bad friend. For example, if we're in a bad friend situation, if we don't have a good friend to support us, Allah subhanahu, and we let go of that friend only because we know, like, honestly, let's be real, like, when we do have a bad friend, we kind of do know. It's not that we're oblivious or we don't know. Like, we do know. And the worst part is that they are your friend. Regardless of what they're doing, they are your friend and you do have love for them. But when you, subhanAllah, give up or just distance yourself, obviously I'm not saying be disrespectful or rude to anybody, but if you give up on that friendship because it's unhealthy to your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses you with so many more numerous friendships that are going to make you feel way better than this previous friendship that you might felt. Because I feel like we cling on before we let go of something, and we always think, I'm never going to find something just like this. I'm never going to find like this kind of friendship that I have with this friend. Like, regardless of what they're going through or like the route they're taking, we still cherish good memories, and that's fine. Keep those memories, but like you do need to draw a line and like be able to take yourself out of environments that are unhealthy to you. SubhanAllah, thank you guys, everyone, for sharing that. That was beautiful. Shukran, everyone. Thank you all so much. Okay, last question we're going to quickly wrap up with is, during these times of quarantine and being in lockdown, how are you all keeping in touch with your fellow friends?
FaceTime mostly. I think FaceTime is really important. Now we have like a group FaceTime feature, so you can have your whole squad on. And also Netflix Party. You should download that if you haven't. You can watch shows together.
That's cute. I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's a lot of apps out there right now that are like online board games and stuff. So like we'll be like playing a different board game every night. I remember for the first 3 weeks of quarantine, everybody was FaceTiming every single night, even when they normally wouldn't. And honestly, like when you get older and you're working and you're still doing school and you have like 5 million things and you can't see everybody, but now suddenly quarantine hits and now you can. I felt a lot closer to a lot of like my friends out of state because I can't see anybody physically. So now everybody's only one screen away. And my San Antonio friends are meeting my Arizona friends, and it's just the whole thing. But yeah, there's a lot of ways to connect, just connecting with people regularly, and also being sure to not overextend yourself socially and take time for yourself as well. I know the questions about like keeping in touch with your friends, but also like keeping in touch with yourself is super important. But yeah, there's a lot of ways to connect for sure.
I would say also scheduling time with friends. Like, don't hesitate to be that one friend that's like, okay, let me get my calendar out, let me get my planner out, and let me plan a time to make time with friends. And it's so nice to be sometimes the friend that reaches out, because the person that's on the receiving end of like, wow, you want to hang out with me, or wow, you thought of me, that means the world. And if you create that habit within your friends, Yani, it would be so normal to be like, I miss you, or let's hang out. And it wouldn't be any barrier in that friendship. So make it fun too. Like if you're going to call, dress up like as if you're going out.
You're so cute. Queen of scheduling and creativity, Tabarak. Mashallah, that's like I think I heard a podcast about the beauty that's like an Islamic thing, like making, I think it's like either it was like the benefit of dhikr, like you saying like dhikr, Allah, like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions you when you mention him. And so like how beautiful would it be when you mention, like when your friend hits you up that they remembered you about something, how heartwarming is that feeling? And so subhanAllah, like in Islam, that's a root concept that we're encouraged to do, and to always make other people feel special and heard. All right, anyone else want to answer to that question?
I'll add something really quickly. Something a few of my friends and I are doing especially like in Ramadan, we're trying to take advantage of this mandated, quarantine, self-isolation situation, that we're all at home and we're not being able to go out and go to the masajid, but we all have goals that we want to achieve in this month. And so what we did is we actually, like a few days before Ramadan, we sat down and we all were sharing like goals that we had and things that we were like, I'm like, okay, I want to read, I want to do it. Like, I want to finish a khatam of the Quran. I want to pray Taraweeh every night. I want to read the Quran translation. I want to do dhikr this amount of time, whatever it is. And like, that was helping us motivate each other. And now we're keeping each other accountable every single day. And on top of that, we do like, if we join on a call for about 15 minutes and one of us shares reflections from the Quran that we read like the day before or that day. So for example, you saw something like really beautiful and it stuck out with you and it resonated with you, so that you share it with other people. And it kind of just allows for like a group reflection. And so it's never too late to have to create those goals and to motivate each other. And for the rest of Ramadan, inshallah.
MashaAllah, that was beautiful, especially during these times. Thank you so much for adding that on. Okay,
We have
really
time for
quick.
one more? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I wanted to ask you guys, what's one quality that you guys look in, but it has to be one word in a friend, and then we have to switch because Hafiz Malik Halehil will be reciting some Quran for us all today, because it is a Qiyam at the end of the day. So, but Ayman, do you want to say something?
No, I think we'll continue. We'll move on.
We'll move on. Okay, everyone. Okay, we're gonna start with Ridwan. Give one quality that you want in a friend and that you value most.
Oh God. Hold on.
You have to do this in
Open.
less than a minute. Open, mashallah. Ayman.
In my current life situation, understanding.
Salwa.
I'm empathetic for sure.
Asid.
Truthful.
Yeah, Tabarak.
Kind.
Oh, mashallah. Honest and true. I mean, that's truthful, yeah. It's a synonym. Anyways, okay, so without further ado, thank you guys all so much. Please, everyone that's watching us on live, stay tuned. Inshallah, Hafiz Malik is so generous and he's gonna be reciting to us for some Quran, just a little longer. So please, everyone, stay online and get the benefit of beautiful recitation. Okay, go ahead, Malik, all yours.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Wa alaikum salam.
Alaikum salam, Malik.
Okay, inshallah, I'll read from Ayah 32 in Surah Al-Kahf until Ayah 44, inshallah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم واضرب لهم مثل الرجلين جعلنا لأحدهما جنتين من أعناب وحففناهما بنخل وجعلنا بينهما زرعا كلتا الجنتين آتت أكلها ولم تظلم منه شيئا وفجرنا خلالهما نهرا وكان له ثمر فقال لصاحبه وهو يحاوره أنا أكثر منك مالا وأعز نفرا ودخل جنته وهو ظالم لنفسه قال ما أظن أن تبيد هذه أبدا وما أظن الساعة قائمة ولئن رددت إلى ربي لأجدن خيرا منها منقلبا قال له صاحبه وهو يحاوره أكفرت بالذي خلقك من تراب ثم من نطفة ثم سواك رجلا لكن هو الله ربي ولا أشرك بربي أحدا ولولا إذ دخلت جنتك قلت ما شاء الله لا قوة إلا بالله إن ترني أنا أقل منك مالا وولدا فعسى ربي أن يؤتيني خيرا من جنتك ويرسل عليها حسبانا من السماء فتصبح صعيدا زلقا أو يصبح ماؤها غورا فلن تستطيع له طلبا وأحيط بثمره فأصبح يقلب كفيه على ما أنفق فيها وهي خاوية على عروشها ويقول يا ليتني لم أشرك بربي أحدا ولم تكن له فئة ينصرونه من دون الله وما كان منتصرا هنالك الولاية لله الحق هو خير ثوابا وخير عقبا صدق الله العظيم.
Jazakallah khairan. Thank you so much. All right. This brings us to the end of our weekly Qiyam with ICC. Everyone that's been watching, thank you guys so much for watching and joining us. It was really an honor for us to be here with you guys tonight. Inshallah that it was a beneficial night. Does anyone have anything they would like to say, last minute comments, remarks?
Okay, I just want to apologize. I think I accidentally said like white friends and I meant to say like non-Muslim versus Muslim friends because I know someone said something in the comments about it. I just want to like clarify that really quick.
Thank you so much, Salah. Thank you for clarifying that and making it clear. Yeah, alhamdulillah, everyone's Muslim. Not everyone's Muslim. Everyone, anyone can be Muslim. That's what I was trying to say. Anyone can be Muslim and anyone can be non-Muslim, whether regardless of your race. So thank you so much, Silva, for making that clear. All right, just the last couple announcements. Sorry guys to keep you all holding over here. So please, everyone that's watching, ICC has amazing and great programs, mashallah, daily programs. So please subscribe to ICC on YouTube and Facebook to stay up to date with all the programs during Ramadan. And please, everyone, whoever's benefiting, and remember your community, remember us, and make donations to the masjid. The masjid really does rely on the donations during Shahr Ramadan, and it's an amazing time to be making these donations. So inshallah, please remember ICC in your donations. Every week we will have a Qiyam on Saturday at this time. So from 11 p.m. to 12 p.m. and 12 a.m. inshallah, with different speakers. So this week was for the youth, which we had amazing, mashallah, incredible, inspiring group of people. And also, please participate in the hashtag Stronger Together ICC. So the hashtag will be daily posts of questions. So today, for example, it was like, what's your favorite one name from the 99 names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Please engage. We really do want to see your responses. We do want to hear from you guys. We want to be able to create that sense of community that alhamdulillah ICC has always been creating for us during this month. So it's really just for you guys. Thank you guys so much for those that have been participating. Okay, so just gonna read. And then tonight, since it is a Qiyam, please guys, I know it's difficult, but alhamdulillah, there's no shaitan to like down us down or what's it called, like make us lazy or pull us down or whatever. I don't know, English isn't my favorite language, but please try to take some time and pray 2 rak'ah tahajjud liwajhillahi ta'ala, for God's sake, for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's sake. This is a qiyam and we really truly came in with the intention to make it beneficial and to help everyone remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So take that time on your own, and it's a beautiful time to seclude and reflect and think about your friendships. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as Asil said, start with that dua. This is the perfect time. Pray those 2 rak'ah sunnah, and in those sujood, try your best, be sincere, show Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala your weaknesses and ask him for his help and guidance. He's really the only one that can provide us with that guidance and that help and make letting go of bad friendships easy. Besides that, we are all done. And I just really want to say Jazakallahu khairan to our beautiful speakers, amazing speakers. Alhamdulillah, you guys were really, really helpful and beneficial. Jazakallahu khairan for your time, and for everyone in the backstage that's been helping us coordinate and putting in time and effort. Jazakallahu khairan jami'an. Inshallah, we'll see you guys soon, and inshallah, you guys have a blessed Ramadan. Assalamu alaikum.